Train by day, Kyle Wigington podcast by night, all day.
Andrew Gude.
What's up, man? How's it going?
It's going good, dude.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming, man. Like, I thought your name was Gude for so long.
Most people do.
Yeah. And then you said Goody one night. I think it was when I was helping you with an audition. And I was like, holy shit. That's how you say his name.
Oh, during a slate or something.
Yeah. But so is that really the pronunciation? Like, What is that?
Originally, I think it's Norwegian, but my family's from Germany. And I think it proliferated in Germany because in Dusseldorf, there's actually a beer brand that's spelled the exact same way, Gude. Mm-hmm. And my uncle, when he went there, was like, he brought back all this beer. And he's like, hey, check it out. Like, we own a brewery in Dusseldorf. I didn't even know.
Is that true?
I mean, I don't think it's.
He was just like making a joke about it.
He was just making a joke. I don't think they're related to me. Maybe like way back, but I have no idea.
Yeah. So big German guy, huh?
Yeah. Well, on my dad's side, on my mom's side, it's.
What
Irish.
is she?
She's Irish.
Okay.
Yeah. Her last name is Lafferty.
Yeah, I think I'm Irish too. In English or something. I don't know.
Wigington sounds like a very UK
English
name.
right?
Yeah.
And my beard's red, so that's why I think I'm Irish. Who knows?
Or Scottish.
We're all just mutts.
Yeah. Yeah, at this point, which is like when it comes to dogs, it seems like that's the way to go because they have the least health problems. So basically it's just like the less pure your bloodline is, the less likely you probably are to get cancer.
It's a good point, actually.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
Misinformation.
No, I think it's totally true. Like there's a Tay-Sachs disease, right? That's the Jewish disease where, because the Jews they used to only marry inside of the Jewish culture.
Does that only affect babies?
I don't know.
Is that like?
Yeah, I don't think you live long if you get it.
Okay.
Yeah, but Tay-Sachs disease is one they go for. That's why they don't do that anymore. Supposedly.
I mean, your mother will probably still be upset with you if you don't marry a nice Jewish girl, but.
Is that what it is?
I'm not Jewish. No, I think actually it's the other way around because the Jewish heritage is supposedly traditionally carried through the mother's side of the family. So if a Jewish woman marries a Gentile man or whatever, non-Jewish.
That's what they say. I fucking hate that shit.
Yeah, I hate that too.
There was a girl here one night told me that shit. She's like, oh, you're a Gentile. I was like, what the? Like, do you know how offensive that is to someone? Yeah. Like, I don't give a shit. But
I'm worse than a Gentile. I'm a Pharisee.
What is that?
I don't know. Somebody from the Bible where they're like, the Pharisees plotted to kill Jesus.
But it's just so funny, like how some comments can be offensive, but the other ones are like so offensive, but no one gives a shit because no one even knows what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. How quickly it evolves too. It's almost like technology now, how everything is just going so much faster. It used to be, it took like decades or like half a century or something for like a word to be considered or to develop a different meaning. I won't even say like offensive because there's certain words that just like change meaning over time. But now it seems like words that were not offensive in like 2010, now it's only been 12 years and now it's like totally fucked up.
But the thing about me is like nothing offends me. So like when she said it at the time, I was just kind of like, okay. And then later I was at home and I was like replaying the conversation in my head and I was like, hang on a second. She smirked at the other Jewish girl when she called me that.
Right. Well, also you realize the intent. I think the intent has a lot to do with it. And oftentimes now we don't take the intent into account.
Right.
So, yeah. A lot of times the other way too, where somebody will say something and they don't mean it to be offensive. They're either just ignorant or they're joking or they legitimately don't know. And everybody's like canceled.
Yeah. I feel like you got to have the rapport with the person you're talking to like, get away with offensive shit.
Yeah.
Friendly racism is what I call it.
Friendly racism. You have to be grandfathered into friendly racism.
So Andrew.
Yes, sir.
Is an actor.
I am.
We met on set. What were we doing?
Is it still called a set if it's a play? It was the Moscow Mule play. So
it was during what was the festival? We met
on stage.
What was the festival?
It was Tale of the Cocktails.
Tale of the Cocktails.
2016.
Dude, I don't know. Dates don't even work.
We literally just figured this out by going back and looking at pictures.
We did, but still.
I think it was 2016.
Yeah, when people talk about dates, normally I just agree with them. I'm like, cool, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, like I know you somewhere. But now it was Tales of the Cocktail. We were doing the retelling of the Moscow Mule.
Origin story
of it, yeah. And you played You know,
Rick something.
It was
the guy who owned the Cock and Bull in Los Cock and Bull. The guy who owned the Cock and Bull pub lounge, whatever the F it was, in Los Angeles.
And so the way that story goes is you had a abundance of mugs, correct? Or was it? It's so bad that we can't remember this.
There was two guys that spearheaded it. One of them had the mugs and like owned stock in ginger beer. And then the other one was like, hey, I'm trying to make vodka huge in the United States because nobody drinks it. So they're like, with our forces combined and a little squeeze of lime, they invented this cocktail that had all of their financial interests involved.
Yeah. And it works. Like people drink the shit out of that today.
Yeah. I prefer the Kentucky Mule, but that's just me.
All the mules are great. I think it's just ginger beer, really.
Yeah. Ginger beer and lime with any alcohol. It's like a Bloody Mary. You could put anything in there and it's good.
Right. Yeah. So we did that. We met. I'm not a big fan of plays. Are you a fan of plays?
I used to be a bigger fan of plays just because that's why I started acting, was in theater. And that's how I got through college. I was very fortunate when I was in college at Loyola. I got cast a lot.
You're really good.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And ever since I graduated, I got more involved in wanting to do film and television and commercials and stuff like that. I've kind of grown apart from it and kind of gotten kind of a resentment to it, not for the art form itself, but just because there's no money in it. You can't make a living in it unless you like are super well renowned and you live in New York City and like, or London or wherever the big theater hubs are even now. And it's so time consuming.
Time consuming, yes.
The specific thing that happened when I got an agent, when I first got an agent, and now with my new agent, they're like, don't do any plays. You can't be booked out for 6 weeks and like expect me to like work hard for you. And I'm like, I know, I understand. And the first time I got an agent, I was like, man, that sucks. How am I supposed to hone my craft? How am I supposed to like, stay connected to my roots and stuff? And now I'm like, yeah, fuck that. I don't want to be booked out for 6 weeks for no money anyway.
Nah, dude. I did a couple in Arkansas and they were like musical theater type things.
Which ironically pays the most.
Yes, but I am a very introverted person. So when it comes to musical theater, those people have very big personalities.
Very true.
So I can only last for about 10 minutes with them. And I got to go sit in the corner. But I mean, I don't understand how people have that much energy. Like they would be singing and dancing the entire time they got out of the vehicle and walked into the rehearsal.
Yeah.
And I was like, just get me out of here.
Yeah, I did the most musical theater in high school. And I remember specifically the first few weeks being completely out of my comfort zone socially, like artistically, whatever you want to say. And about 4 weeks into whatever the 6 week, 8 week like process, I finally was like, oh, cool. Like I connect with these people. But at first I was like, this is like a totally different thing. And it's like, but now I expect it. Like when I joined the military too, it's like, oh shit, I have to learn all these new social cues and like, learn like what the conversation pieces are going to be. Cause there's only certain topics that you talk about in certain social groups.
But see, that's my problem. I never could like fit in with those people.
Yeah.
Like the only reason I like did those two is because they came to me and they were like, we need your body. Like we need Rocky. It was Rocky Horror Picture Show was the first one. We needed Rocky. And then they were like, the second one was Legally Blonde 2. They needed the UPS guy.
How else did they need your body, guy?
Oh, well, I mean, you know how theater people are.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. But yeah, so those are my only two. And then when we were down here for Tales of the Cocktail and he's like, yo, let's go out for this. And that's when we went out for the little thing that I met you on. I'm so glad I did because I've worked with you guys quite a bit now.
Do you remember how you got that job? Because I don't remember. I remember what was the dude's Armand or something was the guy's name. I remember having a Skype. That was my first Skype audition. Weird. We were innovating before COVID, but that was my first Skype audition. And I remember it paid like $1,200 or something. And it was only like a week instead of 6 weeks, which was crazy for that amount of money in a theater production. But I don't remember like for the life of me who sent me the audition. It definitely wasn't an agent.
I can't remember either. I mean, maybe Adam like gave it to me because like he looks for that stuff quite a bit.
Right.
So I think whenever he saw it, he might have forwarded it over to me and then we just like did like self-submissions or something. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't
remember.
recall. It was a long time ago though, but it was fun. I think the reason they paid so much for that was just because it was a cram. Like we were cramming lines and stuff.
And also, I'm sure Tales of the Cocktail, just as a festival, has the big budget. That's the thing.
Yeah.
If you're going to make money with theater, it has to be connected to some other well-funded like entity.
Mm-hmm.
Like Shakespeare festivals are never going to not have money because that's just like ingrained in our culture at this point.
Mm-hmm.
St. Louis is the same way. That's where I learned that lesson. Every summer they do Shakespeare in the Park, and there's all these other theater groups that like get paid and get all this money to produce like their little side shows like on the grounds of the production. And it's very lucrative for a lot of theater artists. It's just like, yeah, at this point, especially in this market in New Orleans, it's not my thing.
Yeah, no, it's a different ball game than film. That's Absolutely. For sure. That's why I love film so much, because you do the preparation outside of the set, and then you all just come together the last day and you make it work.
Yeah.
Well,
I was just going to say, that's the one thing I wish there was more of in film is rehearsal. And it's a very case by case basis with directors, how much they want to rehearse and like work on stuff before actual shooting. And sometimes I wish there was more of like a standard for that, but I agree.
I think a lot of it has to do with budget too.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, when you're working on these films, because I've done a lot of producing type stuff. That's where I got you on some of the Lamar advertising stuff. Mm-hmm. When you're doing that, they give you a certain budget, and there's not really any rehearsal budget. Like if the actors wanted to like come for free and rehearse, that would be a different ball game. But most people don't want to go and work for free. But I'm in it for the performance too, so that's why I'm kind of like the same way you are. Like if it comes to rehearsal, I'm down with it. Because I want to make the best product that I can.
Absolutely.
As an actor.
I think that is the incentive of, even if like I would come in to do free rehearsals too, depending on scheduling and how much the gig itself is paying, because I might be making enough money to where it covers those days anyway with whatever I'm getting paid for the day. And I agree that the most important thing is to put out the best work possible, because you're not going to get another job unless your last one was good. At least, I don't know if that's how other people in casting see it, but I always strive to be like, I'm going to make my work as good as possible. Just like how we've talked about with like when you help me with auditions and stuff, it's like, maybe I'm not right for this role. Maybe I don't think I'm going to get this role, but I have to turn in the best tape possible so that casting will call me in again next time. Yeah. Be like, this guy turns his shit in on time. He does good work. We'll look at him. Yeah. So, yeah. No,
I think that's always put out your best performance. Speaking back on theater though, have you seen those? Oh my God, I forgot what they're called, but Adam did one last year or the year before before it happened. It was one where they like went on stage and they did this play. They were doing the exorcism, the Exorcist or whatever it is. Exorcist is what it's called, right? They were doing that play and they were getting drunk as they did the play. So we went to the second showing that night of that play. So they'd already like gotten pretty sloshed the first way around. Some people got drunk. Some people like took mushrooms. Some people smoked weed. They basically, all the actors were on some kind of substance, and they had these decanters, like these clear decanters of different clear liquors, and some had water in them too. So you never knew which one you were picking up. Oh damn! So throughout the play, they were just like grabbing these and like taking shots of them and stuff. And you got lucky if you like knew where the water was. But there was one time where he was walking over to the little girl, the Reagan, I think's her name. Yeah. Walking over to her, and Reagan was this very large man. He was like 6'4" and weighed like 300 pounds. He was huge, but he was the little girl Reagan. That's hilarious. So Adam walks up and he props his leg up on the bed and he grabs that decanter and he thought it was water. Takes a huge swig out of it, almost throws up right there on stage. Wow. It was the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. Was this for like Fringe Festival or in Fringe or something? That sounds like that kind of. There wasn't a festival for this. It was just like it was something in the Marigny area, I believe. Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah. And it was great. Like they're actually doing another one. It was Willy Wonka. They were going to do that one. And then the quarantine thing happened. Yeah. But that was so fun, man. Like I would love to go back to see another one of those. Yeah, I did. So I used to do back in 2014, 2015, when Fringe Festival was still big, before it became in Fringe. I worked with my buddy Bob Mitchell, who's actually also originally from St. Louis.
he would do these faux Shakespeare things. The first one we did was Montana, and it's where these playwrights, they adapt like awesome gangster movies into Shakespearean like iambic pentameter. So I played Manny. I played Manolo in the Shakespearean Scarface. Yeah. And then eventually did Shakespearean Godfather as well. And that shit in and of itself was like hilarious. Yeah. If we did that with like the same platform, like Drunk versus Stoned versus Sober, that'd be fucking awesome.
Dude, I would be down as fuck to watch that. Cause it's like, it's like there, you don't know what to expect whenever it's going on. And the actors don't know what to expect either. Like, I feel like when you rehearse a lot, you're going to like put on a great performance. But
Where was the venue?
Dude, I can't. It was like,
that sounds like something they would do at the Always or like something like that.
I forgot where it was. Or something. I don't know. It was a cool little spot over there though. I'd never been there.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. He would know for sure, but I would definitely love to see another one of those. So if there's a venue that does those, let me know, and him too.
Let us know.
Yeah. So you're from Missouri, right?
Originally,
what part of Missouri?
St. Louis. I'm from South City, St. Louis, Missouri.
Yeah, I mean it's not really. I mean it's pretty far away from where I'm from in Arkansas, but it's crazy that we were that close to each other. Whenever this giant United States of America, and so how did you get down here? Just film?
Well, I went to Loyola. I graduated. I moved down here in 2009 as a freshman in the theater department. This is when enrollment was still down, I think, at all the New Orleans universities because it was post-Katrina. I got a really good financial aid package. And then when they saw my audition for the theater department, they were like, all right, well, let's offer them even more in theater scholarships. So, and I was very set on not staying in Missouri for school. My parents, they wanted me to stay in state. They wanted me to get that free ride. And I was like, absolutely not. I'm going to go like be a man somewhere. And looking back, like I'm glad I did it. Here I am.
Yeah.
Fucking more than 10 years later. And don't have no plans of leaving New Orleans. I'm kind of stuck here. That's
all it takes too, is that like first push to get out of the door.
Right.
That's why I tell a lot of people, I'm from a very small town. I'm not from St. Louis. St. Louis is huge. I'm from a town of like 2,000 people in Arkansas.
Yeah.
So, I mean, most people, once they graduate high school, it's like they never leave. And I'm like, if you just go right after you graduate and just take that risk, like you're not going to want to come back.
Right.
But you get here and you get stuck and you get married and you have a kid and.
Well, I don't have either of those things yet. But,
but I mean, that's because you like went out and explored the world. Right. You realize there's a lot more out there than just 2,000 people at home.
Yeah. The main reason I say I'm stuck here is just because I feel like this is an amazing market right now for film and television, which is what I want to do. And the first feature I actually did, Love Me True, on Amazon. It's not a Prime film, so you have to pay for it, but you could watch it on Amazon Prime. Love Me True, directed by Kirby Voss. That first feature I did, which I did right after I graduated Loyola, actually. So I was like, "Oh, look at me making it big, like right out of the gate." We played at a film festival out in LA in 2016, the LA Comedy Festival, and I visited Cal Arts. Which is where like Don Cheadle, Brie Larson, they all went there as undergrads, I'm pretty sure. But I was like, ooh, I should apply here as like a grad student. So I applied, went back out to LA to audition. I guess it's actually in like Valencia or whatever. I don't know how much they are sticklers for like, it's not an LA guy. But actually got accepted. $40,000 a year program though for 3 years. And it was like one of those things where they're like, we'll give you a couple grand a semester. And I was like, okay. But that would have been the only thing that would have drawn me out of New Orleans is if I would have ended up going to grad school in California. But at this point, everybody's like, oh, you want to be an actor? You need to move to LA, man. Why don't you go out there? And I'm like, I don't think that's the case anymore. It might still be the case for like a while, but I feel like by the time I actually got out there and got established, the shit would be so much more spread out right now. Because we were actually having the conversation of how there's so much going on in New Orleans in terms of production. And a lot of the crews now are mostly local people because they have the respect of like, these guys can do the gaff job, camera, lighting, set deck, painting, greens or whatever. And they're local. They're not flying everybody in from LA anymore because they respect the work ethic and the skills of a lot of crew people that are here. I think the same thing is going to happen with acting. Yeah, right now it's like New York and LA are still like the most respected and they're going to cast their leads and principals and series regulars out of there. But just within the last couple of years, Atlanta is starting to get a lot of respect. They're casting a lot of people out of Atlanta for like highly prominent like principal roles in series and films. And I think it's only a matter of time till it all gets kind of diluted in terms of like where the respected talent pools are.
Oh yeah. Well, dude, I mean, it's so easy to make a film nowadays that anywhere you are, you can make one. Especially if you like New Orleans is a fucking just a cesspool of talent, dude. Like there's so much talent in the city, it's insane. So I mean, we have everything we need right here to make it. It's just a fact of making time to actually do it. Yeah,
and that's what so Anthony Mackie announced that he's doing his whole like studio in the East, and I guess to kick it off, the facilities aren't going to be ready, obviously, but he's coming down here to do a Twisted Metal series.
Oh,
like that old PlayStation game.
Dude, I fucking love. Yeah.
Series. And I guess the idea is to make it self-sufficient. Like they're going to cast mostly local actors.
Get the fuck out of here.
Mostly local crew.
Oh my God.
It's all being casted locally. And I guess that's going to be that's his kind of mission with his facility and his like filmmaking venture down here, is to make it kind of a self-sustaining market and bring that respect to the talent and crew pool and stuff.
Dude, I did not know that was coming here.
Yeah. My buddy already booked a role on
Really?
it. Yeah.
What did he book? Can you say?
I guess so. I don't know. Maybe I should.
Probably not. Yeah, don't say it. But I mean, if they're casting for Twisted Metal characters right now, get the fuck out of here.
I mean, once again, I can't say.
No, yeah, but
it's one of the main characters of the thing, and like even like Sweet Tooth and stuff like that. Yeah. I'm pretty sure they're hiring like a local stunt guy, and then they might get somebody from LA or like a name to do the voice, but. Most of the bodies are going to be local hires.
Nice. Yeah, I gotta check into that.
Yeah,
because we used to play the hell out of that game.
I fucking love that game. Mm-hmm. When I heard that, I was like, "You mean like original PlayStation?" So that being said, too, I'm so excited for him because I think he's already like pretty big.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be like breakout in the sense of like, it's Anthony Mackie. This is like a nostalgic late 90s, early 2000s franchise.
We're all going to watch that.
If it's not bad, as long as it's good, everybody involved in that project is going to get like fans.
Yeah.
Like that's going to be a legit fan base when that comes out. So
yeah, I feel like they're hurting for content right now too. There was a TikTok that someone sent me last night. It was this like Christian film where this guy like he's a pastor and he like goes into the jungle after his parents get killed, and he turns into a dinosaur. He like figures out he can turn into a dinosaur. And one of the scenes in the film, it shows him like watching his parents get run over, and it's like the most overdramatic thing ever. But then it goes back to where his parents got run over, and it says "car on fire" VFX. Like, it doesn't even have a car on fire. I was they could have done something here. But no, it just says car on fire VFX.
And this was for the TikTok specifically? Or
no, this is on Amazon.
Okay.
It's literally on Amazon. And someone just made a TikTok about it.
Do you know what the name of the film
I don't, yeah.
That's crazy. How does that? Well, see, so you said they're hurting for content. I feel like that comes from a surplus of content. Because I'm saying I'm seeing that like there's so much work for actors and stuff right now, because of the fact that they're making so much stuff. But also I feel like it's harder than ever maybe to get noticed in a sense, not within the industry, obviously, but in terms of like go mainstream,
right?
Because there's just so much shit to watch. It's like you could be in something that's well respected, Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, Disney, whatever. And like a quarter of the population has seen it just because everybody else is distracted with other stuff.
Yeah. The world's crazy right now.
Yeah. There's so many platforms. There's so many weird like outlets to be, what's the other free ones? Crackle or whatever. I don't think that's a thing anymore.
No, there's like a million of them right now.
I'm always saying like, it's eventually it's just going to be like cable again, where you got to pay to like.
Well, they're like all owned by the same companies.
Services. Well, yeah,
they're owned by the same companies. So I mean, we're still paying cable. We're just paying it in different segments, like $10 here, $10 there, and it's like it adds up to $150 or whatever every month if you got them all.
I might have to cancel my Netflix.
I battle back and forth with that all the time. I'm like, do I want to cancel this? And then sometimes we'll, throw the passwords around me and my buddies from back home.
Yeah. They keep raising the prices and they're like, oh, it's because we're going to be coming out with all this new content. It's like for the users and stuff. But it's like literally their whole business plan has changed to just like expose documentaries.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the last Netflix movie. Well, I mean, no, there's a lot of them. I'm not going to say that. But it's like, I guess they just kind of gave up the game in terms of like their formula. They're going to hit you with a fucking true crime documentary. They're going to hit you with an original movie. And then they're going to hit you with an expose feature length documentary about like Tinder swindler or like one of my favorites that I've watched on there was a series. It was called The Devil Next Door or something. It was about.
You told me about that last time we talked.
Maybe it's about this dude, Ivan the Terrible, who was like not Auschwitz, one of the other big concentration camps. And he was like one of the main dudes that was like executing people. And then after the war, nobody knows what happened to him. And it turns out he moved to Cleveland and just like, well, the whole thing is about like, they don't know if it's him or not. They're like trying to prove that it's him. But part of the reason it's so like controversial is because it's just like this sweet old man who lives next door to you in like the Cleveland suburbs and works at the auto plant. And it turns out he like gassed hundreds of thousands of Jews in the war, potentially. Like crazy.
How could you do that and then live with yourself just as a normal human being again? I think that about people that go to war too. Cause I mean, you see how it affects people that go to war. Like if they're actually,
Yeah. I mean, compartmentalization is like it's a crazy thing just in terms of like how, I mean, I don't know it personally, but that would be my only guess as to how he could live with himself and just like move to America and just become like a small town grandfather is like, it's like it's in his past and either he has some kind of like sociopathic tendency that like just allows him to just like think about it as just like any other normal memory, or maybe he's like seriously haunted or something. I have no idea, but I definitely think we have this capacity as humans to hyper compartmentalize experiences, traumatic or otherwise. And it's almost like being your own therapist, if that makes sense. Like you can, if you figure out a way to rationalize it in your head that makes enough sense to you personally, you can like sleep at night.
So
anything. As
a soldier, do you think he rationalized it by saying, well, I didn't give the order. I just pulled the switch. Like someone above me gave the order. So it's really on them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would argue that that's probably the case in terms of justifying his actions, but there's certain things like when you see it in real life, sometimes like all you have to do is see it in photos, like all these photos coming out of Ukraine and shit is enough to make me go like, damn, like it's like shiver, like cringe worthy, all that kind of stuff. But like, there's a difference even between seeing photos of that and real life like being there.
Yeah.
And that's like a special kind of mental gymnastics if you're able to just like brush that off or pretend like it never happened or keep that a secret or like whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I remember there's a video that's seared in my brain from whenever I was like, I think I was like 14 or 15 or something like that. I was in school and it was this guy, like they stood on his fucking head and took a big ass knife, like a big Bowie knife, and fucking cut his head off. And I was at school watching this shit. It was like when the internet was like a new thing. There was
no like blockers or anything.
Yeah. And like that image is forever seared into my head, and like hearing that guy gargle. So, I mean, and that's just me seeing the video. So I can only imagine if like you're there, like, well, I can't imagine the person, like what's going through their head as they're doing this to someone. Like, why would you hate someone that bad?
Yeah. I don't know. Once again, it's like, it takes a certain amount of manipulation and like mental gymnastics just to get to that place. But then the fallout emotionally afterwards and stuff is just like absolutely nothing buts to me. How like, just how crazy we are as humans in terms of like, we have that spectrum of capabilities. Mm-hmm. We have the capacity to like murder someone like that in like the weirdest, most heinous way. And then
go home and kiss your wife.
Exactly. Go home, kiss your wife, move to Cleveland and work at an auto plant. Like,
yeah.
What the fuck?
Fucking humans.
Never think about it again. Like
it's animals, dude. We're animals.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the product of your environment, right? So I guess if your environment is chaos, you're going to turn into chaos too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, especially like just as an actor,
Mhm.
as performers. Like, I definitely feel like I think about these things a lot more.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe I'm being
No, I definitely do.
Big-headed, being like, yes, I think about humanity and psychology so much more than the average person.
Well, it's true for me. Like that's one reason I went into acting, because I wanted to understand myself in a different light, and to get into another character's head is literally just you trying to understand someone else's psyche.
Yeah,
which that also makes you reevaluate your own.
Very true.
So that's one of the main things I got into it. And then when you start doing that side of it, then I started writing. And so when you're writing, you're actually getting in the head of the audience, and you're basically taking the audience on a roller coaster ride with the story that you're telling.
Yeah.
So it's
so when you write, that's how you think about it. You
Yeah.
think about how are people going to watch this, instead of like, because I always thought I did a writing project for my senior thesis. Actually, I wrote a one act, and I was thinking about it like, ooh, how do I make these characters' voices as distinct as possible?
No,
But you
no.
think about it from the audience.
Yeah, I try to look at it from like a top-down perspective, like the roller coaster ride is what I call it. Like if you're going to a movie and the movie like doesn't really do anything the whole time, it's a boring movie.
Right.
But if you're like riding the wave of like the movie's doing this and that and this and that, then you're actually creating something that it'll keep people's attention. It'll take them on a wild ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dialogue comes second for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which, as it should in film as a medium. That's when I really realized that New Orleans was starting to get like a lot more reputable projects. Because I remember when I first started auditioning, I would get scripts and I would get sides for auditions, and I was like, this dialogue is fucking terrible. Like, I know this audition is going to be bad just from like me like straining to try to make this sound like something somebody will actually say.
Yeah.
But now I'm getting auditions from Ryan Glorioso and just like independent casting directors in Atlanta, and I'm like, oh shit, this is actually like really good. Like,
Well, I think it's why they have certain people for that too.
Yeah,
like my dialogue that I write isn't always the greatest, but the story's there. So if you can grab someone else that can write good dialogue, they can come in and
it's also the easiest to change in the moment, like on the day on set. You'd be like, well, why don't you say this instead? Or why don't I say this instead? There was actually a moment in Love Me True where I had a line that I was the protagonist, and it's just like, you want the protagonist to be likable. And I just had some of these lines, and I was just like, this is just like something a total douche would say.
You said that to the director?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he agreed though. He was like, I don't understand. It's not right. And I was like, I think it's this line, because the scene is,
it's awfully ballsy of you.
I'm talking to this girl, and at one point she's like, well, what makes you think I care about your childhood? And I'm like, every girl does. And I was like, what if I don't say that and don't sound like a total tool? And he agreed. He was like, all right, let's just do one where you just like,
look, you
don't respond. You just give a look or whatever. And then we did it, and that's the one they ended up using.
Dude, that's like real life. Like whenever people say shit like that to you, you'll just kind of look at them, give it a little grin.
Right.
Cause I mean, it's acting is, it's responding.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't, and you can respond with your looks and stuff. Cause I mean, most people are lazy when it comes to conversation.
Very true.
Yeah. I think a lot of writers, they want to put everything down. They're very wordy.
Mm-hmm. And real life isn't like that.
Nah.
We're very, we're much more laconic in real life. And that's why too, like whenever you can kind of tell somebody's personality by how they text you. Cause if they're sending you like these paragraph text messages, like an essay, it's like, nobody talks like this in real life. Like, I know this is like premeditated and like, I don't know how to describe it, because obviously I'm not giving a value judgment. It depends on what the text message is about or whatever. I'm not giving a value judgment on them as a person based on the fact that they type in these paragraphs.
Whoever's like watching this and sends Andrew paragraphs, he's talking about you right now.
I'm talking about you right now. But just in terms of how a style of communication.
Yeah.
Like, people don't communicate like that in conversation. It's weird that now it's normal for us to communicate in little mini essays like on a screen.
Well, so for me too, when it comes to stuff like that, whenever I am typing a text message to someone, if it's like an employee or something here, I'm trying to put myself in their shoes. Like, are they going to understand what I'm actually coming across? And I need it to come across, because I think anytime you're reading a text message to you, however the other person feels when they're reading it is going to determine what they're actually reading.
Very true.
Yeah. So that's for me, whenever I'm trying to like talk to people, if there is an essay that I send, it's because of that reason. Like I want you to know exactly what I mean here. I don't want you to be able to misconstrue it into something else that's just because you're angry.
Right. Absolutely. And I mean, I do it too. Now that I think about it, I'm sure like I type out little mini paragraphs.
Like I said, there's certain things that you got to do that for, you know?
But that's the other thing about text messages too, is that there's no tone. There's no body language or eye contact involved. So sometimes you do have to compensate with extra dialogue. Yeah.
No, I was having a conversation with my girlfriend actually a few days ago.
Not single, ladies.
Not single. Having a conversation with her, and I could just tell it like was getting heated just by the text messages going back and forth. I said, hang on, let's not do this. Let's call each other if we want to actually have this conversation.
Yeah.
And then once we actually spoke, it was like, okay, never mind. Like there was no bad blood there, but we were just like reading in the text messages like totally wrong. And it was escalating the situation.
Yeah.
Conversation's weird anyway.
It is. I was just gonna say, once again, as like actors, performers, people in that space, it's like interesting to think about how our species or like society or whatever in general is changing as a result of these more remote communications that we've never, we've had them for a while, but like specifically in COVID, when everything went virtual and now all of a sudden all your interactions are through Zoom or Skype or whatever, like people were still interacting with people were still working and like having meetings and being social remotely, but people were still like more depressed than they've ever been in their life. There's something different about that as opposed to like us sitting here having like a powwow or like a bonding as like in person as human beings. There's like an energy
transfer, man. Like something I was reading the other night, it was talking about how humans release radiation from their body. And that if you're actually sleeping with someone that you love at night, that you're radiating each other because your heat that's coming off your body is actually getting to the other person. So I mean, those are like minute things that we don't realize because we see like with our eyes, you know,
right?
We don't actually feel the energy out the other person, but I mean, it's a clear thing. It's a real thing. So, I mean, I think that's what a lot of people missed was just the warmth of another human sitting next to them. But yeah, it's, I mean, there was a guy on the other night or on the podcast the other day. His name was Michael Cerrone. And he brought up a really good point. He's like, dude, we're just fucking monkeys. And I play with my little music box. He plays guitar. He's like, I'm over here making noises as I play with my music box. It's freaking hilarious because it's so true. Like we're sitting here right now going, ooh, 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 ooh.
Right.
And like, but we can understand each other.
Yeah. And I think about that too, especially as an actor. Sometimes when I'm doing it or like I'm getting all like sad boy hour about like not booking this or that or whatever. And then I'm like, bro, it's like so weird. It's so stupid that I'm like so upset because I don't get to pretend on this day or whatever. Like it is weird. And how we've decided as humans that if you do get to the point where you book that job and you go there, now it's like a super important thing. It's like you're getting paid a lot of money to just stand in front of this camera and like act like you're different.
When other people see you too, then they're like, oh my God, that's Andrew Gude.
That's something that's always fascinated me too, is like why people are so or why that's so respected or like valued. Because initially I thought it was just because like when I was in high school and I did theater, people would come up to me and they'd be like, that's so cool that you were like on stage, man. I could never do that. I could never talk in front of all those people. But now it's like, now that we have TikTok and like Instagram, social media, all this shit, trying to be comedians, performers and stuff. It's like, wait a minute, that you didn't actually think that at all. Maybe it's more removed, obviously, because it's.
Yeah. Have you ever met those people in real life?
Like TikTokers?
Oh my God, yeah. Some of them are so fucking weird in real life. It's like they can talk to a camera all day long, but if you actually get them, if you get them in real life, they're just like they clam up.
I believe that a lot of actors are like that.
Mm-hmm. You think it's because they've like explored themselves so much that now they're like.
I feel like that's why a lot of people get into acting or like TikToking or whatever, because it's like an outlet that they don't feel comfortable with in real life, whether it be like socially, artistically, expressively. They're like looking for that release that other people might get from like, oh, maybe they're a bartender and they like talk to their clients all night long and it like fills them up and like they're socially stimulated and they learn all these things and they're just like very happy when they leave at night because they're like, that's what they wanted to do. And then there's some people that like, they want to fill that same void or have that same experience or get that same dopamine rush or whatever the fuck it is that they're getting from it, but they can't talk to people. They're like so shy or like.
So they do it by making TikToks.
Yeah. So they make TikToks and then they see like 1,000 people watch my videos. Like,
dopamine. Yeah, dude, we're just bags of chemicals. We're all chasing that next high. If it's something that your body manufactures or if you're just like fucking drinking or smoking, always just chasing that next high.
Yeah, the crazy thing is that like we really are just chasing the next high or the next dopamine or the next fulfillment, and then not getting it is like more detrimental than the benefit would be if we succeeded. You know what I mean? Like when I get rejected for a role, I'm like way more upset than I would be excited to have gotten it, if that makes sense. Because if I get it, I'm just like, oh yeah, that's what I do.
That's what I do, baby.
MBD, baby. Be out here. I do this shit. But then if I get rejected, it's like 4 days and I'm like, why though? Yeah. Why? Yeah. So
yeah, the artistic grind is tough. Yeah. I mean, I see these comedians too. Like you've done some stand up and stuff.
Yeah. Very briefly before I got back in July, and then I did like at least 2 or 3 open mics a week until Ida hit. And then ever since the hurricane, I just like haven't got back into it.
Well, that's another grind too, man. Like these guys and you have to go out to these bars every night. So, I mean, there's just alcohol around all the time. And if you're like, if you go out, it's like, I'll have one drink. And if you have one drink, it's like, why not just 2? And then you like hung over the next day and it's like, oh, we got another mic tonight then. So I talk to Pickle and them about it all the time. And like, they're out late just about every night because they're just doing mics. Like a lot of them don't even drink, but they're just out late.
Yeah. But even if they don't drink, it's so much time.
Yeah.
Because I've realized that I cannot drink. I've been playing a lot of pool. I'm about to join a pool league. So I've been practicing up, trying to get better. I really enjoy just like, it's another outlet for me. And that like, I think about it the same way I think about acting, and that like every task requires concentration. Every shot is like a process, just like every audition is a process. Every like script analysis is a process. It's like the same process. It's just a set of steps, but there's an art to it that leads you to the result or not. And with stand up, but I realized, so I'll go out and play pool like 3 or 4 nights a week, and I'll just like not drink on most of them. Like only on Fridays I'll drink. But for the stand ups, like you said, they're out there 3, 4, 5 nights a week, and it's like they're out there late, like 2 a.m, especially when the mic is popping here on Tuesdays. If there's like 40 comedians on the list,
that's crazy.
They're not stopping until like 3 or 4. Yeah.
Well, that, and then the fact that if you go up there and you meet a room that doesn't like your stuff, then you have to deal with the chemicals that we're talking about.
Yeah.
You have a bad set, you got to deal with that. The only one time I went up on stage, I was like, I'll give this a go. Went up there and just bombed. Like the only guy laughing in the room was Marcus Bond. He was hosting at the time. He was laughing because I was so shit.
I love Marcus. I only met him a couple of times.
He's a great guy.
He was like, comedian, man, let's fucking do this.
Yeah, his new material is fucking hilarious too. He went on the other night, Tuesday, and did a set. So good, man. So good. But I mean, he's one of those guys that like, as soon as I saw him and he started talking to me, I was like, this guy's gonna, because he just knows. He's got this confidence. It's like you when you're talking about acting. Like you have this confidence where you're good. And it's not a cocky thing, but like, cause you can back it up.
Right. And also you just have to have that mindset or else you'll never succeed. If you it really is like a manifesting or like your thoughts become things kind of thing. If that, like, if you approach things from like a negative perspective, then you're just going to dig yourself into a hole.
It's a good point. So like what's next for you, bud?
I'm just still trying to audition. I just got that commercial. I just shot a commercial. I just submitted another audition for a commercial. But my big thing is I really want to do like a series or like a movie or something, even small parts and stuff like that. Just
have you auditioned for Twisted Metal?
I haven't auditioned for Twisted Metal. I don't know if there's anything in there for me. I've auditioned for...
Bro, you could play Jax.
Dude, that was my favorite character in the video game. I was like, you mean the guy that like looks like he's driving a yo-yo? Like,
I'm so excited to see that. I'd love to see how they make that guy.
Exactly.
That's not what your friend got, is it?
No.
Okay. So it's still open. So I could like.
I assume so. Yeah, man. Submit
White
yourself,
Jacks.
bro.
He's
Just
black
call
guy.
Ryan. Call Ryan Glorioso and
Like,
be
yo,
like, hey,
man.
I'd like to. I'm pretty sure he was a black dude.
Yo, Ryan.
In the video game.
Ryan, you see those? That's Jack.
I wonder if that's going to be Anthony Mackie. I don't know.
Oh,
Anthony
yeah.
Mackie is obviously the lead, and that's
Right.
why I'm wondering.
I thought he was directing
how
it or
many
something.
other, maybe both. I don't know, but he's like, no, he's definitely going to be in it too. He's going to be the main lead, and that's why I don't know how many other names they're really going to need or want. It
Right.
might be all locals besides Anthony Mackie, but who knows?
But where can people find you?
People can find me. Well, I have an Instagram at. Well, you just Google my name, Andrew Gude, or Instagram my name, because the handle is like a whole thing and I change it all the time anyway. So
Oh, really?
It might not be the same. Yeah, just like for fun. Social media is dumb to me.
It is, yeah. It's awfully brave of you to change your name, though. I mean, actually, you don't. If you just Google your name, then you pop up, right?
Right. Yeah, and you can search me on Instagram, Facebook as well. Whatever, Andrew Gude.
And it's spell it again.
Gude.
Yeah, so it's Gude.
No, it's Goody.
It's not Goody. Okay,
Yeah.
dude. Thanks for coming today, brother.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for
Yes,
having me.
my man.
Let's do this again sometime.
Love it. Love it. See you later, guys.
Bye.